This on. Ooh. This is a 2-minute warning, so if you would, please take your seats and we'll get started in just a couple of minutes. It got quiet all of a sudden. Thank you. All right, good morning. Why don't we get started? Yeah, right. For those of you that don't know, my name is Rick Williams. I'm a Superior Court judge. I've been on the bench for about 13 and a half years. I have been involved in the Adult Recovery Court since its inception, which was a little over 10 years ago. So this is kind of our 10th birthday party, so to speak. So thank you all for being here. I do have a few introductory comments, but I know you're not here to listen to me speak more. We're here for the graduates, right? And for our distinguished guest speaker. But to give you just a little bit of background, like I said, this program is 10 years old and a lot has changed in the last 10 years. When we started this program, it was a small pilot program in Kingman where maybe we had up to 15 clients if we were lucky. And that's kind of how it started out. And that's the way it was for a couple of years. But we eventually grew to having courts in Lake Havasu and Bullhead City as well. And now at any given time, we're working with anywhere from, I would say, 35 to 50 clients. So it's really grown. The graduations we used to have were held in a courtroom with kind of limited seating. Now we have an auditorium, which is just a sign that this program has really grown. Some of the other sort of technical changes, when we started this program, we did not recognize medically assisted treatment like many recovery courts did. Now it's considered an evidence-based practice and it's a part of our program. We have more residential treatment and sober living options now than we ever have before. Services are improving and expanding in all 3 cities. And also, we now have attorneys as team members, and that's important, and that's something we've wanted for years, but we just couldn't afford it. But now that we have funding, we have attorney team members attending weekly, giving us input, the benefit of their wisdom, experience, and education, but also adding that extra layer of due process protection for our clients if we're ever looking at imposing some sanction that results in a loss of liberty. So a lot has changed. However, the principles, the fundamentals of the program have remained the same. We focus on treatment. We focus on structure and accountability. Those are the hallmarks of a treatment court. We also emphasize, again, treatment, honesty in your treatment, honesty with yourselves, with your family members, loved ones, treatment team, and court. We also recognize that addiction is a medical condition that requires therapeutic intervention as opposed to just simply incarceration. So those fundamentals remain unchanged, and those are what we recognize today. So again, just a little bit of a background. Let's get our guest speaker up here. A brief introduction. I don't know that any introduction would do this guy justice, but our guest speaker today is Judge Dave Huerta. He had a very illustrious career, 25 years, I think, with the Arizona Department of Public Safety. He retired from Arizona DPS in 2011. And he has been on the bench since 2013, I believe. So he's coming up almost on his 10-year anniversary of being on the bench. Dave, despite being a diehard Cubs fan, is a very well-respected member of the community and the bench. I feel very privileged to consider him a colleague. He and I talk from time to time, exchange ideas. We talk about how things are going because he has a treatment court himself that addresses substance use and opioid dependence issues. So again, we're just really happy to have Judge Huerta here. Please join me in welcoming him.
Well, those are probably some of the nicest words ever said about me, so I truly appreciate that, Rick. You know what, I'm sorry, Judge Williams, you know what, you see that honorable part out there. The reality is, Judge Williams and myself are no better than anybody else in here. We're just an everyday person, we just have a pretty cool job. And I tell people all the time that get a little curious about how to address me. I said, I've been Dave Huerta much longer than I've been Judge Huerta, so my name is Dave Huerta. So when Rick got a hold of me and asked me to participate in this, I was flattered. It was appreciated very much so that he would include me in such a great event. And I asked him, I said, Rick, is there anything you want me to talk about? How long you need me to talk? And he said, keep it under 2 hours. And I said, very funny, but there's some reality to that, because just the other day I did the new employees orientation, and they have you come in and talk to the new employees and welcome them aboard, and they say you get a 15-minute slot. So I started talking. Next thing I know, I'm seeing people look at their watch, and I look up and it's 45 minutes later. So I do apologize if I start to rattle on and go beyond the time that I should, because this is truly about the graduates, not the speakers. With that being said, I'm not sure where all the graduates are sitting. They may be in different spots. If you please all raise your hands. I truly appreciate the round of applause for them, because it's quite an achievement and they do deserve that. With that being said, I did that on purpose because I looked for watches. If I see a watch get looked at from any of those individuals while I'm up here talking, just remember, you haven't got your certificate yet. So pay attention. I like to say I got a good ice. There you go. Just like you're timing me, yeah. You know what, the one thing I have noticed as a judge, I get up there and you fall into the same captive audience. Nobody gets I get to say where you get to leave or not. But anyways, I'll get back on track. Again, you can see how I wander off. But I again thank Rick for letting me be a part of this special occasion and to recognize the achievements that the graduates have made to go through this process. I've had the opportunity to witness several judges. Sad to say I haven't got to witness Rick, but I can only imagine that's one of the better opportunities to see a judge run their drug courts or their specialty courts. And a lot of that is the biggest reason that we developed one in the limited jurisdiction. I dare say that our quality of life court, which is a fancy word for our drug court, is one, if not the only, in the state of Arizona. And what I got to observe through the specialty courts and the Superior Court is the achievements that people get to make and the lives that are changed with people succeeding through that court. And I said, I want to be a part of that. And thank goodness other people wanted to be a part of that as well. And big part is a retired Chief Bob DeVries and his family with the applicants for the grants, so we were able to do the things we're able to do in our limited court, which is, in all honesty, our goal at the limited court is to stop things at the lowest level possible so they don't have to go to a superior court. And a lot of you folks may know when you come see a justice court judge that, okay, I'm not the most serious person you're going to see. You may see people that could impose much more serious penalties that we don't want to impose. But my biggest goal is for, hey, a dismissal of those charges so you don't have that on your record. We all know what that could cause later on in time. So that's our goal at that limited jurisdiction. But ultimately, I tell our participants, that's not why you're here, and that's not why we want you here. We want you to find a sober life. We want you to find your way back. We want you to be living the life that you want to be living, not the one you're living at the time. And so that's what our goal with our court. With that being said, thank you, Rick, for recognizing my prior career. I'm very proud of the career I had with the Department of Public Safety, and he's right. I was retired after 25 years in law enforcement. 20 of those years in law enforcement, I worked at the Magnet Narcotic Task Force. I worked narcotics in the county of Mojave. And I had the opportunity to work in both Lake Havasu, Bullhead, and obviously Kingman. I'm lucky enough that I've never had the misfortune in experimenting and or living or having some of the experiences a lot of people in this courtroom have had. But I have learned a lot from a lot of folks. How did I learn it? By talking to them. By the way, I'm talking to you right now. As a law enforcement officer, I'd visit with people in their homes after, sad to say, they didn't necessarily want to open the door to let us in their homes, but I would visit with them after I'm in there, and I'd find out a lot more about them. And I was very honest with them. I said, I'm doing my job. Ultimately, my job is hopefully for you to stop using drugs. And that's the way I did my career, and that's the way I talked with people, and that's the way I dealt with people. So I was very much interested in being a part of a specialty court that could potentially do that as well. And I've learned the sacrifices, the hard work, and the achievements that all the graduates and fellow participants have gone through and are going through by witnessing through other courts and or more so through our own court. I'm not naive to the fact, and I don't believe anyone in here is naive to the fact, because I truly believe, as well as myself, everyone in here, or pretty much almost everyone in here, has been affected by drugs in one way or another, whether it be themselves, a loved one, a spouse, a sibling, close friends, things of that nature. So we all have had our own personal experiences when it comes to drugs in our lives. I was told to keep it under a certain amount, so I wrote a speech. And they gave me this one and said I could only use one side because they didn't want me to talk too much, right? I said, I'm not good at speeches because what I like to think I'm good at is speaking from the heart, because that's what I do when I talk to people. When I was a law enforcement officer and now as a judge, I've always wanted people just to stop. I've wanted my sister to stop. I wanted my two brothers to stop. I wanted every close friend that was involved in drugs to stop. How can I do that? And I tell people, if I had the magic blue pill, no, I shouldn't say blue pill, isn't that the one that gets the... Let's not get overly excited. If I had the magic whatever pill, I'd shove it down your throat and you'd stop using drugs at that moment. And guess what? I'd have a bucket of those pills wherever I went, because if I could do that, I would do that. What I've learned from you folks, all of you, is that not only are you putting in the hard work that you should truly be congratulated for, is that each and every one of you have that pill. I don't have it. Judge Williams doesn't have it. The counselors don't have it, but they can help you point out where it's at. I congratulate the graduates today because they decided to swallow that blue pill and make the choice and go forward and get the help to get sobriety. And I also congratulate the people who are the fellow participants who are going down that path that may be still holding that pill here, or the pill may be in their mouth, or they may haven't swallowed the glass of water to make it go all the way down, but you're on the way to that path of recognizing that you control that pill and you make that choice and you make further with the help of others. So I'm going to leave it to the graduates because that's what it's all about today, because you guys are the ones who have achieved what you've done. You guys are the ones who are now finding the life that you wanted to live, not the life you were living. And I encourage you, because I know I've got to see out of our own court the achievements of our graduates, the reunification of the family. That probably is the biggest thing for me. When I was a cop, when I was a narcotics officer, I go into those homes and I realize that not everybody doing drugs is a bad person. They're doing bad things. And sad to say, a lot of the kids at that time didn't get the parent that the parent wanted to be. So for you folks, and then I've seen it, graduating, seeing the light, taking the path, and getting your family back together, the family that you wanted it to be and what they wanted it to be. I again congratulate you. Thank you again for everyone here for letting me be a part of this. This is truly a special event for me. So congratulations and move forward in life.
Thank you, Dave, and the consummate professional showing me up by not even using notes. Thanks a lot. Guess who won't be back here in November for our next graduation? I'm kidding. There was a show of hands of our graduates. Let me ask you to raise your hands. Who here are current clients of our recovery court? Please raise your hands. Nice. Okay. All right. How about family members and friends of our graduates and clients? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. How about any former graduates here from recovery court? Yeah. Team members, please raise your hand, be acknowledged. Thank you. Courts, law enforcement, probation. Thank you. I saw that, by the way. Yeah. I have just a few more comments, and then we'll get to it. Why you are all here. First of all, thank you all for coming. This is a great turnout. First of all, graduates, most of you are nervous or should be nervous. And here's why I say that. I've been saying this for years. If you're not nervous on an event like this, that either means that you have a neurological problem and get to a doctor, please, or you don't care. And I know that's not the case. You all care, and you're all proud of yourselves, and you should be, and this is a big day for you. So I expect you to be nervous, but here's a little trick, okay? Just follow me here, and I want you to breathe, hold in the breath for about 4 seconds, and then exhale slowly. So go on. Keep doing that, okay? You'll be fine. And as far as nerves, hey, you're among friends. This is going to be a really friendly group, and we're all here for you, so hang in there, okay? I left off my previous comment talking about how treatment courts are about therapy. And sometimes over the years, people interpret that to mean that recovery courts are soft on crime. It's not, right? It's not soft on crime at all. And to kind of put things in perspective for you, this program is designed to last about 15 months, okay? Sometimes for our graduates, it takes a little bit longer to graduate the program. Some people blaze through it in about 15 months. But to put things in perspective, during this 15-month period, our clients have been to court hearings at least about 33 times. They have had at least 65 contacts with their probation officer. They have submitted to at least 130 random urinalysis tests. And again, on average, they have participated in at least 280 hours of counseling by the time they graduate this program. Does that sound easy to anyone? No, that's hard work. And again, that's if they complete the program in 15 months. And I just wanted to put things in perspective about the hard work that our clients and our graduates put forth in this program. It's amazing. And again, I've said many times, this work is the best part of my job. Again, you could tell from Dave, it's a passion of his, because first of all, we get to work with such dedicated professionals, the team members, but we also get to work with people that are working so hard to reclaim their health and their lives and their self-esteem, their dignity. And that's just very empowering. So again, thank you for bearing with me in my comments. So let's move on to, I need to check our agenda here. Let's move on to our graduates and our phase promotions first. We're going to start with Bullhead City. Yeah. We're going to start with the phase promotions, and some of these are expected, some may be a little bit unexpected. And for those of you receiving phase promotions, I'm going to ask you to please come down here, accept your certificate, and pose for a picture for Mama Rani, and then exit the stage, please. People were asking throughout the weeks if they had to give a speech when they get a phase promotion. And I would say, no, I'm actually directing you to not give a speech for your phase promotion. Those are going to be for the graduates. But again, in recognition of our clients, our existing clients that are doing so well and working hard, excuse me, for Bullhead City, completing phase 1 and moving on to phase 2, Amber Gao. People receiving phase promotions get a certificate of completion of their previous phase, as well as a little gift card. So congratulations. All right, keep up the good work. And wow. Congrats. Our next promotion from Bullhead City, moving from phase 2 to phase 3, Nicole. Leah's going to start weeping here. There you go. Congratulations. And then moving from phase 4 to phase 5. And when people move to phase 5, that means that they are going to be a part of the next graduating class. Haley Bell. Congrats. All right, on to our Bullhead City graduates. And let me explain something, so just to let you know, all of our graduates get a couple of things besides a certificate. They get a pretty nice bound writing tablet. I would encourage you to journal in it. If you want, make your grocery list, whatever, but these can be handy. Hang on to it, please. And then also, something that we've been doing really from day one is we have a recovery court coin. And I know one of the graduates in here brought his coin with them, and I really appreciate that. But it's pretty hefty. It's a nice design, and it says Mojave County Drug Court on the front, Supreme Court, State of Arizona, with the seal. And on the back, it says, I now have the tools, strength, and ability to overcome all challenges. And so our graduates will be getting that coveted coin as well. I also used to make a habit out of making some comments and observations about the graduates first, then calling them up here. I don't know if my comments really helped ease their nerves or make them more nervous, so I'll reserve my comments and just ask our first speaker to come on up here. Daniel Renova. It's all yours.
All right. I grew up in a broken home, living with aunts, uncles, and grandparents. My dad wasn't there, and being the baby of the family, all I had to look up to was my 3 older brothers. My 2 oldest brothers were my biggest influence in my life, and they were gang members, sold drugs. They would even pay my mom rent in drugs. And all that was normalized, and I thought that was the way life was. As far back as I can remember, I was just a little kid and not even knowing what getting high was. When my brothers would leave the room, I would run over and smoke whatever they had left in their pipes or bongs, just because I wanted to be like them. And by the time I was 13, I had already smoked meth and was smoking crack and weed. Then my oldest brother sold everything he had and decided to get out of selling drugs. So he bought a house in Fort Mojave and brought me and my mom out here to Arizona. I had just turned 16. I had never even heard of opiates before. I got here, and before I knew it, I was popping Vicodins and Norcos every day. I was already in with the wrong crowd. By 17, I had my first kid, my son. I slowed down but didn't stop selling or using whatever I could to pay rent. And a year later, I had my second kid, my daughter, still doing whatever I had to do to get by. But my lifestyle was starting to take its toll on my relationship with my kid's mom, so we went our separate ways. And I raised my kids the best I could by myself for about 2 years. And that's when I took her back, and within 3 months, she was pregnant, and we had my third child, another girl. And 6 months after having my baby, she left again. And for 3 years, I raised my babies by myself again. And at the same time, I wasn't strung out, but I wasn't doing anything to stop my habits of using and selling. My mom seen I needed a little help, so I moved in with her, and I didn't slow down. Instead, I took advantage of my mom's help, and I started using even harder drugs like Xanax and heroin. Within the first 3 years of smoking it, I started slamming it. And before I even realized, about 4 years passed. Then I met this girl who has never even done drugs. And I told myself if she gives me a chance, I would quit doing heroin for her. It took a long while, but eventually I got married to her and couldn't be more proud to call her my wife. But about a year before we got married, we had a baby, my son. Then that's when I really put it into gear and started taking recovery serious. And I also started recovery court. When I first started recovery court, I thought to myself, what did I get myself into? All I could think of was how nervous I was about having a court date every week and class almost every day of the week. I wasn't sure if I would be able to do it. But when I started going to court and going to classes, at first in class, I pretty much disagreed with most of what was being taught. But the more I opened up my mind and paid attention to the advice being given to me, the better I got with following the program and following the direction they were guiding me. I started to understand and actually appreciate that everyone involved in recovery court was really here to help and give me the tools I needed to rebuild my life. As soon as I got that through my head, I started being more comfortable with going to court, and I noticed after court, I always felt better about myself. It made me start to feel like I was actually someone, because we all are someone. To anyone new or struggling to figure that out, my advice is to fill your toolbox up with as many tools that you are given and use those tools to build your life, because the house doesn't build itself. You have to put in the work, and all that hard work you put in will pay off. I don't think I even know the words for how grateful I am to have the recovery team I was blessed to receive. Without you, I wouldn't be the father, husband, hard worker, or all-around best human being that I always. I think I lost the page. I lost the page, but I guess I could wing it. So that I always knew I could be. And basically, thank you guys. And I want to thank Amarani, Pam, Leah, the whole recovery team, the judge, everybody. What you guys do is amazing. You guys save people's lives, and I'm super grateful for that. And thank you for helping me be the man that I deserve to be.
Daniel, again, thank you very much for sharing with us. And, oh no, it's right here. Here is your certificate of graduation, commemorating your graduation from the Recovery Court program. And so let's step aside and. Also yours. What I probably remember most about Daniel is the work ethic and the drive, and all of our graduates have that, mind you. But there were times I think that, man, we just kind of sat back and wondered, how much is Daniel going to take on? Because once he really got the addiction under control, he started, getting to work on getting a job, a regular job, being a husband and a father, going back to school for welding, and trying all these new things and GED classes. And I think there were times that he probably bit off a little bit more than he could chew, but he had to kind of self-correct and back up a little bit, and that's okay. But just an incredible drive throughout the program, and congratulations. Appreciate it. Yeah. All right, you saw the slide probably. Our next graduate from Bullhead is Sarah Pope. Susan's idea.
Thank you, Susan. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Sarah, and as you probably already figured out, I'm an addict. I was born in Fresno, California, but by the age of 3, my parents divorced and we moved to Rancho Cucamonga, California. I was raised primarily by my mother and haven't seen much of my father for the majority of my life, which, as I've come to realize, has impacted me severely over the years. I ended up with 2 different stepfathers who both abused me, my sister, and my mother in unspeakable ways. Due to the fact that I'm still healing from all of that, I'll spare you all the unpleasant details and fast forward to my teenage years when my battle with addiction unfortunately began. My mother had finally left my second stepdad, and finally it was just the 3 of us, myself, my little sister, and my mom. I had just started high school and had so much hope in my heart that we were at last on our way to a better life. My mom, however, despite her years as a therapist herself, would end up abusing her pain medication terribly. My sister and I were, despite being free of having to stand by and watch our mom be hurt by her stepfather, now had to watch in horror as she hurt herself daily. She would get so high from her pills that we often had to drag her into the house as she regularly passed out on the front porch. It was at this point, knowing supervision was a thing of the past, that I began drinking more regularly than any 15-year-old should. So much so that one night, while out with 2 of my girlfriends and 3 much older boys that I didn't really know, I was sexually assaulted and left traumatized, but unable to find the courage to tell my mother, who I knew wasn't able to save herself at this point, let alone me. Feeling broken, lost, and completely alone, I tried to take my own life. To my surprise, and despite my best efforts, fortunately I was not successful. Still feeling like a complete failure, I then went on to drop out of all my honors classes as they were hindering my drinking career. The beginning of a long journey to numb the pain at any cost. Not long after that, my mom would try and take her life too. My sister and I found her barely conscious in pools of her own blood one afternoon. She'd cut her wrists and taken every pill she had. The doctor said not only was she overdosing, but the blood loss alone was probably going to be fatal. I fainted hearing that news, but when I came to, the look on my sister's face of pure anger and disgust made me very happy no one had found out about my attempt just weeks earlier. That would begin a systematic and long journey to hide or lie about my indiscretions at all cost. At a time when I should have been reaching out for help, I was doing everything possible to avoid facing or feeling anything. I would graduate high school by the skin of my teeth and began working full-time to get out of my house as fast as humanly possible. I moved out with a boyfriend I barely knew and attempted to begin college, but dropped out early on because remember, drinking the pain away was my #1 priority. Until drinking became ecstasy, weed, pills, shrooms, acid, you name it, I was game, I did not discriminate. I got pregnant at just 19, but ended up miscarrying due to my toxic lifestyle. I didn't even realize I was pregnant until it was too late. That event made me realize something had to change, so since my mom was doing a bit better, I moved home for a short time and started school again. I also found my passion for working out and would eventually start working at the gym. I was doing better than I ever had been before, but thinking that would eventually be my undoing, ignoring my mental state and all the signs up until that point. I ended up meeting and dating a man who also worked at the gym with me. He was older and didn't like to party all the time, like I'd been doing for years. I thought the world of him, but early into our relationship, I ended up needing surgery. I had developed ovarian cysts and immediately was prescribed Norcos, which to my surprise, he enjoyed taking as well. Unfortunately, it became a regular thing for us, and our once healthy relationship was now tied together to our newfound pill addiction, one I thought I would never have after watching what it had done to my mother. My ex and I started fighting all the time. He and I cheated on each other several times, more than I can count. And I thought when I had the courage to call it quits, right around that time is when my mom actually passed away, right after my 23rd birthday. Not wanting to lose yet another person I loved, I ended up staying with my ex for years, and the fighting turned physical, and behind closed doors, I would allow him to physically abuse me for years, despite promising I would never allow a man to do to me what I watched be done to my mom. There I was allowing this man to hit me whenever he saw fit, even knocking me unconscious at one point. Along with the evolving violence, the drugs got worse too. First it was the Norcos, then it was the Oxy. Before I knew it, we were smoking heroin and meth just to get out of bed every day. At 26, I would get arrested for the first time with him for possession of narcotics. And oddly enough, my father, who had been MIA for years, resurfaced just in time to take me to my first rehab in Oxnard, California. He insisted I move in with him after I got out, so I didn't go back to my ex, but within a few months, I allowed my ex to come see me, and it would result in my dad not really wanting to help me anymore. I didn't want to use again, but within a month, my ex and I were back to cheating on each other. He was back to beating me up regularly, so I did what I did best and just tried to numb the pain at all cost. I would get arrested countless times after that, OD twice, and just when I thought everything was over for me, a good friend of mine who I'd grown up with asked me to move to Arizona with him. Apprehensive, of course, I backed out initially, but eventually I realized it might be my only way out of the life I'd found myself in back home. So I packed my bags and left everything behind, hoping for a better life again. No more violent relationships, no more heroin or meth. My friend drank regularly, but he was doing well out here, so I thought that wouldn't be that big of a deal. Since finding hard drugs, alcohol didn't seem to entice me that much anymore. However, our friendship soon turned into more, and within a few months, I was pregnant with our daughter. I was afraid I wouldn't be able to handle it, but he promised me that no matter what, we would be fine. So I trusted him, and shockingly, I had no problem staying sober in order to have her. It's like a switch in me had flipped. I couldn't do anything to jeopardize her well-being. But my daughter's father, on the other hand, seemed to get progressively worse. The binge drinking turned into coke far too often, and despite being a new father and having his own business to run, it wasn't stopping him. I would spend the next few years pretty much raising our daughter alone, and while he did whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted. God knows why, but eventually we thought getting married would fix things, when in turn it only made them worse. And though he never hit me, the verbal and emotional and mental abuse I would endure during our time together is something that still haunts me today. Eventually, I would leave with nothing, only asking for my child. But once you realize that's all I truly cared about, my past was used against me and his money to make sure our daughter became nothing more than a pawn. I had gone from devoting my every waking moment to this child to her being gone overnight because I didn't want to be with him anymore. Regardless of any other loss I'd gone through, that one felt like my soul being ripped out of my chest. How could God see how much I'd changed and allow this? What I didn't realize is how easily it was for him to use my past against me and to make everyone I had left believe I was the one who was drunk and high constantly. I thought there was no way anyone would believe that. But with us being far from home, I think people didn't know what to believe. They didn't see us often enough, and unfortunately, despite being clean from heroin for a few years at that point, I did exactly what he probably wanted me to do, and I gave up. That's something I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. For 2 years, I got high just not to feel anymore. The pain was too great that time. Without her, I was nothing, and eventually I would get in trouble with the law again. I ended up in jail after years of thinking I'd never let it get that bad again. And then I ended up in drug court. And I thought there was no way I would ever be able to do everything they said that was expected of me. They wanted rehab, IOPs, meetings regularly, and drug testing. I thought for sure I was either going to die or end up in prison. I had just traded my car for a bunk bag of heroin when Judge Gregory in Lake Havasu told me it was definitely time for rehab. I figured at that point I had nothing left to lose, so why not? That decision, despite a few more bumps in the road, would change my life forever. They sent me to Hildy's house, where I met Bobby and everyone from West Care. For the first time in years, I wanted to live again. Everyone told me to stay, but after 30 days, I went home, and you guessed it, I got high again. I'm a glutton for punishment, clearly, and I'm severely codependent. They were right, I should have stayed in Bullhead. So through genuine tears, I begged my old probation officer to call Bobby and send me back. He said, "Why should I call? You didn't really want to change, you never did." That stung my soul, but still I pleaded with him, and he made the call. By the grace of God, Bobby sent Stephanie and Cassie to come pick me up on New Year's Eve of 2020, and I've been here and sober ever since. I stayed in sober living for 7 months, started a new drug court out here with Judge Williams, and a new IOP with Pamela and Leah, who have all helped save my life, by the way. I got a new job, got another car, and eventually my own apartment out here as well. I went from being on a last chance contract in phase 1 to completing all my community service, attending meetings, completing tapering off of methadone, attending IOP regularly, getting promoted to management at my job, and most importantly, seeing my daughter again regularly. My ex-husband eventually lost custody and had to start his own journey with sobriety and facing his demons. I know that I've grown today because though what he did almost killed me, I'm not angry anymore. I see now the part I played in all of my despair. I may not always have been in control of what happened to me, but I had a choice in how I responded. Today I have found hope and humility. I know how to take accountability. There were so many times in life I could have asked for help or said no, but I didn't. I wanted to run and be numb for as long as humanly possible, until the day I asked my old probation officer to call Bobby. And that's the day I surrendered. So to any of those out there still fighting the process and wondering why the world is working against you, just stop. Ask for the help you deserve. You're worth it. And there are good people out there who want to see you succeed. It may sound cheesy, but I promise you it's never too late to change your life. It's never too late to decide you want to be a better person. Do whatever it takes to be with your family again and trust the promise, because I promise it's worth it. Teddy Roosevelt once said, "Believe you can, and you're halfway there." Thank you.
Nicely done. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. All right. So we have your certificate and your coin and your binder. So let's come around here for a picture. Congratulations. You know, Sarah mentioned that her first judge was Judge Gregory in Lake Havasu, right? And she completed her recovery court in Bullhead City. That happens sometimes. People, places, and things, right? And one of the great parts of having expanded to all 3 cities is there's options in all 3 cities. And so, as some of you are aware, because we've done this with you, we change your environment if it seems like it would help your chances of success and help you get healthy. And so, yes, Sarah was really not doing too well in Lake Havasu and was kind of headed toward a potential termination from the program when she got moved to Bullhead City. And then I got to start working with her there. And what I was impressed about with Sarah was how goal-oriented she became and how flawlessly she would execute her goals. And again, this is an attribute to all of our graduates, right? Because by the time you get to this point, you're setting goals and accomplishing them. But Sarah was just kind of a machine. And it became readily apparent that once she puts her mind to something, that nothing's going to stop her. So anyway, thank you, Sarah. Appreciate it. Our next graduate from Bullhead City, Bruce Monroe. All yours.
Okay, here we go. Hi, my name is Bruce Monroe. I'm an addict. My addiction started when I was 24 years old. My brother started me on meth, and then it was downhill from there. At first, it was a small bag of meth, and then the bags got bigger and bigger. I lost my kids to CPS in California, and then I got caught for meth. I did 6 months in jail there. My mother of my kids OD'd in California. She couldn't stop doing the drugs. I asked her to come to Arizona with me, and she wouldn't. I came to Arizona to get clean. But I was still doing meth, and I got caught with meth in Arizona. I did 4 months in Kingman, and they offered me drug court. And here I am graduating. I would like to thank the staff that run the drug court program and the counselors at Mojave Mental Health and everybody at WestCare and Stephanie at Mojave Mental Health, and to thank Judge Williams for giving me the opportunity to change my life. And to thank my probation officer, Amarani, and Sarah, and all my friends that I have made it through the drug court program, and my family for the support they gave me for my long road to recovery. If it wasn't for drug court, I would be in prison. The road to recovery has not been without its struggles in the last few months. I've attended various classes, got so many certificates already, which have given me the tools to be able to move on forward to my recovery, and promise to take it one day at a time, by taking all the tools and information I've learned and applying it to daily life. I know I can overcome any situation that I might face on my long road to recovery. Thank you, everybody.
Still done. Okay, Bruce. So for Bruce, we have a graduation certificate and coin and a tablet. Let me give you that. Thank you, Bruce. So a comment on Bruce. When you see his clean and sober date up there, he started the program, I think, in either late December 2020 or early January 2021. And Bruce was testing consistently, meaning every time, for methamphetamine and marijuana. And I don't want to say that I have a bias, but I was thinking, boy, for someone that is, Bruce is in my age, like mid-30s, right? Yeah, no. But let's face it, change is hard. And I don't think change gets any easier as we get older, okay? You get set in your ways, and really thought Bruce would be a project. But holy cow, you know, he kicked meth really pretty quickly, within about a month or so of being in the program. And so he was still testing positive for marijuana, and we're like, Bruce, you know, you need to stop. You're in this program. And we thought that would be a little bit struggle, but lo and behold, in May, he produced his first completely negative UA, and it's been completely negative UAs ever since. So nicely done. And, you know, the phrase, you know, slow and steady wins the race is kind of, I think, Bruce's mantra. At least that's the one we assigned to him, where he's just been consistently doing well. So we really appreciate it, Bruce. Our last graduate from Bullhead City gets actually a couple of certificates today. Not only a graduation certificate, but this participant has earned the distinction of completing the program sanction-free. So congratulations to that. And that is no easy feat because, man, there's a lot of requirements for our clients and sometimes they stumble, but again, Katrina, you've done an amazing job. Come on up here, it's your turn. You'll be fine.
My name's Katrina Shufflin, and I am an addict. When I was 17, I dropped out of school. And at 18, I met the father of my two oldest children. While pregnant with my oldest, we left Montana, and we went to St. Paul, Minnesota. We lived on the streets until my oldest was born. We left and eventually ended up in Colorado, and at this time I was pregnant with my daughter, and the whole time I was with him, he physically and emotionally abused me. I didn't leave till he turned his abuse on my son. I waited for him to go to work, got on a bus, and went home. In Montana, I had my daughter, and my family moved to Arizona, so I followed. I got a job, and there I met my youngest child's father. He emotionally abused me, and when we split, it was his aunt that first introduced me to speed. I wasn't hooked overnight. It wasn't until I met other addicts my age and started chasing that first high I became addicted. I lost everything, including my children, and that made me want to stay numb even more. A year later, I started doing opiates. My ex and I were prescribed oxys, and when we ran out, heroin was cheaper. I overdosed 9 times, been in and out of hospitals and jails. It wasn't enough for me to stop. Not wanting to feel the pain from the wreckage I caused, and after 6.5 years of using, that's all I knew. And running with the wrong crowd and doing dumb things, I finally got caught and ended up on supervised probation. That still was not enough for me to stop using, and my PO at the time knew I needed help and helped me by placing me in recovery court. When I started drug court, I was lost. I once told the judge I couldn't get the ball in my court to save my life, but they helped me. Now I get to run with it, and that's exactly what I'm doing. To get here, I had to surrender and trust. I was given almost a month to try and do things my way. Thankfully, the team stepped in and strongly suggested Hildy's house. There I healed. I opened up. I learned tools and coping skills that I will use for the rest of my life. I am now 14 months sober, and in this time, I've got a job, my license back, a vehicle. I'm working towards my GED, and most importantly, I got my family back. To some people, these might seem like small accomplishments, but to a recovering addict, these are huge accomplishments. And if I can do it, so can you. All you have to do is want it. Chase your recovery like you chased your high. Nothing stood in your way then, don't let it now. My advice to my fellow peers in recovery court is to be honest, surrender, trust, and don't let anyone label you. Figure out who you want to be and define yourself. You don't have to live under a negative label for the rest of your life. And only you can change what you are viewed as. Don't be ashamed of your past. I've never met a strong person with an easy past. And as for my fellow graduates, the true test starts now. Don't let this accomplishment be your last. Keep making goals and reaching them. I want to thank Pamela and Leah for picking me up every time I felt down and setting me straight every time I needed it. I also want to thank Bobby and West Care staff. I've learned so much from you all. And overall, thanks to the whole drug court team for shaping me into the woman I am today. I hope to take all I've learned and help others like myself see that they can change their lives too. Thank you.
Nicely done. Great job. All right. So Here's the sanction-free award, Katrina. Again, congratulations on this major accomplishment, graduating sanction-free. Yes. And then here is your graduation certificate also. We'll pose for pictures. Okay. And there you go. Thank you. With Katrina, I kind of feel like it was quite a journey, and of course the journey's not over, but I remember when she first had her first few hearings, I could really tell there were signs of, that's just going to sound bad. I could tell she was sizing me up. And she was sizing the program up, and I felt like kind of looking for angles and looking for a way to maybe work around the program a little bit, not work with the program a little bit. And that happens sometimes when people start this program. And what I marvel about with Katrina is how quickly that changed. It was like overnight. And she mentioned surrender. I really feel like there is a time in everyone's lives when there's this moment of surrender, and there has to be if you're going to embrace recovery. And she had that moment relatively early on, and I think it's when she was receiving residential services at Hildy's house and really started to blossom from there. And so, again, I remember when we first met, she's kind of looking at me, and I'm kind of looking at her. Okay, what are you going to do next? Now, what are you going to do? Like we're playing chess, which of course I am outmatched. I'm more of a checkers guy. But it's now kind of gotten to a point where I truly look forward to what she's going to do with the community, what she's going to do with the recovery community, and hopefully even serve on a team someday. And I hope I get to work with her going forward. Again, a force of nature. So Katrina, congratulations, thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our Lake Havasu City promotions. And promoting from phase 1 to phase 2, Zachary Davis. Come on down. Did I forget the announcement of silencing your phones? Apparently. Congratulations. And then also promoting from phase 3 to phase 4 and well on track to being, well on track to being a part of our next graduating class, Lori Billings. Congrats. All right, and a brief comment about our Havasu and Kingman graduates. Some of you may not know, I took over the Havasu and Kingman recovery courts in mid-November of last year. Those used to be run by different judges, Judge Gregory in Lake Havasu, Judge Gordon in Kingman. And it was not a popular decision to some of our clients, of our fellow judges. They were kind of PO'd at me, but I don't make the rules. I follow the case assignments like everyone else does. And so there was a change in case assignments. I felt blessed because, again, I love this kind of work. But anyway, my point is, these following graduates, I really haven't been able to work with from day one and see the transformation like I did for our Bullhead graduates. By the time I took over, these graduates are doing pretty darn well. They were well on the road to recovery. And so I had the pleasure and maybe the easy job of just sticking along for the ride up until today. But again, just wanted to make that observation. And again, I know Judge Gordon is here, and I really appreciate him being here for the Kingman graduates. Judge Gregory couldn't make it. But let's bring up our next graduate, our only graduate from Lake Havasu City, Alex Shipman. There you go, sir.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Funny, isn't it? I like that picture, quite honestly. Yeah, I told you, Tumbleweed was one of my nicknames. Caveman was another. Yeah. Well, this picture right here says 1,000 words, quite honestly. I'm going to try to get through this without breaking down, because as grateful as I am today, I've gone through a lot, as you can see, and I feel a lot of pain still. Anyways, but it's a good day. And thank you all for joining me today in this graduation ceremony. I want to thank everybody for being here so much, and today I'm a grateful person. I want to thank my family, who's on the third row. All those guys out there are my family. I want to thank my children for coming out from California, some of my other family members that are here from California. I'm so proud of my sons. Anyways, I'll start now, and basically I'm going to shoot from the hip a little bit, as if I haven't already, but basically I ended up homeless. That's where I ended up. I ended up out in the desert, literally, in Lake Havasu City, and walking around aimlessly. That's where I ended up. Prior to that, 5 years prior to that, I had a good job working for a Rialto school district, Unified. Prior to that, I worked for them for 7 years in my active addiction to meth, amphetamine. Prior to that, I worked for a college, Chaffee College in Rancho Cucamonga. So, yeah, I'm thinking like, wow, how's that possible, right? Smoking meth, you know? And being able to land such good jobs. And well, in the end, I lost them all, but that's okay, because in the end, I will recover, and I have recovered already greater than that, which is sobriety today. Thank you very much. This program here has allowed me to better my life by allowing me to connect to resources that aid a recovering addict like myself. Through honesty and surrendering of my will, I come to the realization of the fact that I could not stop my addiction to drugs on my own. Through the implementation of random urine analysis and a weekly meeting referred to as drug court, I surrendered to professionals that were willing to help me. I was directed to be assessed for a higher level of care. That higher level of care would be obtained at Mojave Mental in Lake Havasu. Through a couple of meetings with a counselor named Jenny, I was directed to go to Revive Behavioral in Bullhead. I must admit, I was a little bit nervous, but knew that I had nothing to lose but true help to gain. Unfortunately, I postponed me going to Revive. One day, I got myself in a situation, excuse me, where I'm going to do what the judge says, because today we take directions and suggestions, and it works. Thank you. So I spent a couple weeks in a 24-hour quarantine lockdown at Mojave County Jail, right down the way here, or that way. All the time I was concerned as to my fate in drug court, what my fate would be in drug court. I remember when I spoke to Judge Gregory, and he told me that, frankly, Mr. Shipman, it's either prison or Revive for you, as I sat in jail on the bat phone, as they referred to it. And that would depend on them, on Revive, since they were concerned due to my recent behavior. My behavior, you might ask, well, that was such that I knocked on my parents' door and banged on it with a toolbox that was empty and committed a domestic violent act on their property. For this, I am truly sorry for. My parents did not deserve this, excuse me. I'm so glad that no one was injured physically in this act. Unfortunately, as if I didn't know it, I needed help. Finally, I received a call from Revive and was told I would be picked up by a driver and taken to the facility from jail. As the officer guard took me outside, she said I had been a gentleman but didn't want to see me back again. I took this as a good thing. I was so grateful when I was picked up and have not been the same since. Revive Behavioral in Bullhead City is the place I would reside for the next 3 months. While at Revive, my mental, physical, and spiritual wellness would be nurtured. I would also relearn life skills necessary for growth and early recovery. The basics that are neglected in addictions such as rest, eating right, and hygiene were quickly implemented. Towards the end of my stay at Revive, I was encouraged to set goals that were attainable. Some of these were to find a place that where I would live, to find employment, and last but not least, to continue working on my endless recovery. The day after 4th of July, I graduated from Revive, being there for 3 months. On July 5th, I arrived at my new residence, the Oxford House. The Oxford House is located near a church, which holds a Celebrate Recovery support group meeting. It's also within walking distance of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous meeting halls. This is a safe haven for me to implement skills I learned at rehab and also to continue my obligation to become a better overall law-abiding citizen. The Oxford House has allowed me not only a great home to live in, but also a stable place where I was able to look for employment. For the last 9.5 months, I have worked for the London Bridge Resort. I have been able to save a few $1,000s while paying off my probation fines and paying on my urine analysis and also paying a month advance in rent. Through all of this goodness, there have been pitfalls, like the time I was almost expelled from the house. This situation was part due to a solution that was due to a solution that was out of my control. Anyways, I did find a way, and I asked probation for permission to go back to California, to Needles, California, and get a copy of my driver's license. After this, I swiftly headed to the resort to obtain employment. Then there was the time I tested positive for opioids. It's not even my thing, right? So I stayed calm, and I had a confirmation done, which was confirmed negative. Then came the corona. No, not the beer, but the virus. I fell ill for a solid 15 days and had to stay in quarantine in my room, and had a very slow return from it. Sometimes I feel like I'm still recovering from it even now. In part due to my low energy level that I feel. Perhaps this is due to my busy schedule. Through all of this, I continue to work 8 hours of community service a week on top of my regular 40 hours at my job. Recently, I completed a 12-step program through CR, and I'm also enrolled in domestic violence classes at Southwest. Some of this low energy I realize now too is because I used to do math so much, and just to bring myself at a even level, that perhaps today I'm a little off. Well, obviously still a little off. In regards to energy, I can't really I can't really gauge what is normal energy and what isn't normal energy, right? So after doing meth for approximately 30 years, so yes, I'm still screwed up. I will continue on in my recovery. Basically, after I graduate from recovery court, I will continue on doing the same things I've been doing. I plan to show up to court to encourage and support others. I will also keep attending support groups and sharing and participating. I plan to live at the Oxford House for at least a year. And then the only thing that might change is me. And basically, my life is to continue on. The story's to be continued. I do have goals that I have set for myself, But like I said, I'll leave those a secret. Wait till I get there. And I just want to thank God himself, and thank you, Lord, for everything. And also thank my family, thank you guys, everybody at Mojave Mental, the team in drug court for all that they've done, all their support, probation officers included, all that I've made, all of the people I made contact with along this path, and say thank you all.
So, a couple of things for you here. Here's your certificate of graduation, coin, and your writing tablet. Let's, a few times in his speech, Alex talked about his energy, and that's kind of how I sum up Alex. Any interaction with him has a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy. And just, again, every time, there's certain people that you meet that kind of make an impact, and you just feel uplifted after you have a conversation with them. And I'm pretty sure I'm not one of those people. Alex is, though. And whether it's, you know, sometimes coming to court when he's required to, sometimes stopping by when he doesn't have to, just to say hello to people, every interaction is just something wonderful. Even if we're talking about tough stuff. And so just really appreciate the energy that Alex has and that he brings to recovery and the people that he supports. And he's a mentor too, so thank you, Alex. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to our host city, Kingman. I honestly thought there'd be more hoots and hollers, but, that was not an invitation, but okay. So for our phase promotions, in recognition of his completion of phase 1 and moving to phase 2, Leonard Hopper. Tough crowd. Well, thank you. And it's a tough crowd out there. Moving, and also to commemorate the promotion from phase 1 to phase 2, Brandy vote. Surprise! Thank you. That was a surprise one, and thank you for staying calm under pressure like that. And then commemorating completion of phase 1, moving to phase 2, Michael Webb. Commemorating completion of phase 2, moving on to phase 3, Brandy Wallace.
Good job, Brandy. Way to go, girl. Yeah.
right. And by the way, this next recipient has a prize in the back from a raffle we did last week, so don't forget about that. But commemorating a completion of Phase 3, moving to Phase 4, Moises. Our last promotion, and this is commemorating a completion of Phase 4, on to Phase 5, and will be a part of our next graduating class. Jessica Tigner. Trying to keep you guessing. Yeah. On to our graduates. Yeah. Our first one actually could have chosen to not show up today, and we couldn't have done a damn thing about it because she's not on probation anymore. But Bobby Brummett, come on up.
God, you guys had to show that, really? Ugh. Hi guys, I'm Bobby Brummett, I'm an addict. My story starts when my mom passed away. I wasn't able to handle my emotions. I was so depressed, I didn't know which way to go. I met the wrong guy, got in trouble. We got into doing heavy drugs, doing meth really bad. I was running from the cops until I got caught in April 2019. I spent some time in jail. When I got out, it was the same old thing. I went right back into doing drugs, closed myself off to everybody who cared, started using again, didn't report to probation, and thought it would be easier just to run. I got caught again and spent a week in jail. Then when I got out of jail, I reported to probation. I was doing good, and then I relapsed again, which lasted 3 months. I had moved into what I thought was a safe environment, but it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It led me back to that relapse. It was during the pandemic, and I thought I could get away with it without having to see my probation officer, but then they came to my work. It was obvious to them that I wasn't clean. They made me test, then I got drug court. I got sober January 29th, 2020. I have been sober ever since. I'm in a good place. I love my life now. I'm living in sober living and doing better than I ever have been. At my job, I'm an opening manager and continue to do better. I want to thank everyone that has helped me get this far. I have 2 special people in my life. Curtis, my fiance, and my daughter Mariah, who have been my rock and been there through this whole nightmare and have supported me every step of the way. Lori for always being there for me. Kelly and Victoria for always pushing me and knowing that I could always do better than what I was doing. Judge Williams and Judge Gordon for always knowing I could do it. I thank Tim, Shelley, and Elaine for always saying no when it needed to be said. And to all my friends that in drug court that I met along the way, it is possible. If you stay on task, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And remember one thing, if God brought you to it, he'll bring you through it. Thank you.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
So, I have this for you. Judge Gordon, would you please come on up? Will you hold this? what I've appreciated about Bobby, and this goes for, again, all of the graduates, I think it can be said, is, you know, when you start out in this program, you're really just talking about the addiction and what's it going to take to start getting some negative UAs and get engaged in services. But by the end of this sort of lifespan in the treatment court, we're not even talking about that kind of stuff. We're talking about family, we're talking about loved ones. And again, what I appreciate is our conversations over the last few months about just, we're talking about family type stuff and goals and what I kind of call like normal life stuff. And it's just a sign that Bobby has recovered her life and that she's just excited for the future, and we're excited for it. And again, she's been off probation since what, March? Or April? Okay. Again, thanks for coming. Really appreciate it, but congratulations. Thank you. All right, our next graduate is a bit of a character. He knew who it was. But also, distinction, sanction-free. Delbert is sanction-free. So, come on up, Delbert. You look much better now, by the way.
Yes, I know.
Okay, thank you.
My hat's over there. Well, it's my fedora. All right. Well, hi, my name is Delbert Kevin Farrell. I'm a recovering meth addict. I started doing meth when I was 21. I had a job, a car. I was staying in my boss's little house next to where I worked. But as soon as I started, things started going south. Started not even being on time, missing work, even messed up the car I was using for deliveries, which I lied about doing, and my boss got it fixed. And then I started taking off with the car and not going to see my toxic relationship, which also was my baby mama who was pregnant and using, which in turn was the first time I used that before everything that I have already talked about. So I was still trying to work even though I was getting high, even tried to work another job so I can pay for my addiction and for my car insurance, which I was barely doing. Then my first job ended up closing because the owner died, and I ended up helping his wife move and worked for the car I had messed up after I was working for Oysters. During that time, I had a baby girl on August 28, 2013. Shortly after, I got a different job working for Bowie Distributing when I had lost my other job because I was getting high and had a couple warnings that if I was still coming late that they would let me go. So I missed a day and then knew that I was fired. Well, while I was working as a stalker for Bowie, I stole food from Walmart because I had food stamps, but not for food, hot food. So on break, I got caught by a lady worker and told my boss that I had to quit for the shoplifting. So after that happened around October 10th, 2013, my Delilah was taken by CPS. After that, I really started going down, went from smoking to slamming and gave up on everything. Started going to jail more and more for drugs, fines. I was always just going around and I nowhere to go, so I ended up going to places that I knew had drugs and either work for it or get it for free, stuck in a long and lonely cycle. Then I got a chance to change and I started slow, but once I was in, I went smooth sailing. Kelly Winston, my probation officer, was really helpful. Shelley from class, Mr. Gordon were great support in my recovery. I have a better life now. I am, as of May 18th, 444 days clean and sober. I got married on 2/22/22 to my beautiful wife, Rochelle Farrell. I made it, and I plan on keeping this life that I've worked for with the help of great friends and family. Thank you, everyone. And everyone in the program, you can do this. The future is bright.
Nicely done. Congratulations. Hang on. You have your sanction-free award, also your graduation certificate. Judge Gordon? This is your coin and your writing tab. Yeah, come on. What I always appreciated about Delbert in the months we've been able to work together is the way he carries himself. Because, I mean, a lot of times arrogance can be a bit off-putting, but confidence is a good thing. But he always seems to carry himself, at least in court, with a degree of confidence, but also gratitude. And that's, in my opinion, an appropriate balance where you're not too cocky about your own abilities, you're confident in yourself, but also humble. And just the interactions with Delbert over the last several months, I think, has had that appropriate balance, which tells me he'll go far and do very well. So thank you, Delbert. Appreciate it. Our next graduate from Kingman, Terry Cruz.
Wow. Jeez. Okay. Oh, God. I know I got eyelashes, right? Okay, so it's really hard for me to talk about my whole story because I'm so happy now. And I wasn't before, so I didn't think I was going to cry, but I am. Okay. All right. Guilt, shame, and fear. As far back as I can remember, that's all I felt. That's all I can remember feeling. Until I turned 40 and I found meth. And it took away all those feelings. I didn't have no feelings. No guilt, no shame, no fear, no doubt. Every time I went through a traumatic event, I just picked myself up and dusted myself off and kept on going, you know? I never processed them. I never acknowledged that things happened to me. So if I don't think about it, it doesn't happen, you know, it didn't happen. So, and then when you do that, it has a way of invading your life and showing itself in the most weird ways. I never imagined 11 years ago that I'd be standing up here admitting that I'm a drug addict, because I didn't think I was a drug addict. I thought, you know, because I only did it a couple times, you know, I didn't do it, not a couple times, but I only did a little bit. I only took a couple hits off the pipe a couple times a day. So I'm not an addict, right? Yeah. I told myself I could stop when I want to. I didn't feel like a useless waste of space when I was high. I had confidence when I was high. I wasn't a failure. That lasted all of about a year, and by then it was too late. I was addicted. I had put myself so far down in that pit of despair and hopelessness that I wasn't ever going to climb out. Truthfully, at that time, I didn't want to. I didn't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to have good things in my life. I didn't deserve peace and happiness and joy in my life. I would stay down there until I died. I was resigned to that, to only existing and not living. I can't believe today as I stand here how sad that sounds to me. It's hard for me to remember just how hopeless and dark this past 10 years were. Today I do feel alive. I do feel peace and joy. Today people see me. Today I have gratitude. None of this would have happened if my family gave up on me. Thank you, Mom, Jerica, TJ, for loving me when I couldn't love myself. And okay, this one's a long one. Okay, thank you, Recovery Court team, Kelly, Shelley, Elaine, Judge Gordon, then Judge Williams, Tim, and everyone at Southwest for never giving up on me. You saw something in me that you felt was worth fighting for. You believed in me until I could believe in me. I'm sorry it took so long. Thank you to all my recovery court peers. Love you guys. You helped me feel connected. I've always felt disconnected from people, but you all helped me connect and feel accepted for the weirdo I am. I love you all. And of course, last but not least, my boyfriend, Dave. I love you. With you here, I'll be okay. I'm gonna do it. And I just wanna tell everybody that's just starting out, don't give up. It's not hopeless. You got all these wonderful people here that will help you. So just take advantage of that. Do, please. Okay, thank you, I'm done.
Nicely done.
Oh, thank you.
Judge Gordon, would you join us? It's your graduate certificate. And, let Kelly go first, okay? How long is that picture going to take? Congratulations. Thank you. It's a comment about Terry and what I've appreciated about Terry, getting to know her the last several months and working with her. Because again, when you're in phase 5, you usually come once a month. And so we've had a few chats, but the introspection and the insights that Terry has, I've just been so impressed by when we talk about her day, her week, her month, how things are going. Not only is she just sort of giving me the play-by-play, the actions, but she'll talk about if there was a struggle, about maybe a friend that was in need that maybe she should have avoided, or a particular house or a neighborhood or something that was triggered. She is really in tune to herself, and that's key when you're in recovery. And so just really appreciated Terry's consistent insights into who she is, her strengths, her weaknesses, and talking about her family goals and so forth. So just Terry, again, congratulations. Thank you. All right, so our last graduate for the day, Miss Spalding, come on up. It's all yours.
Okay, I think the hardest thing for me isn't telling my story, it's actually trying to find the best place to start. In one way or another, I've been around drugs for my whole life. I just recently came to realize that using drugs is really the problem with addiction. Most likely for me, it's been just covering up past pain and unhealed traumas. I had gone through so much and never sought help. I had lost my mom, brother, grandparents. Also, my husband's mom, dad, and sister passed away as well. We were feeling so alone and hopeless that we just fell even harder into drugs. We eventually lost our kids, and I wound up in jail, sentenced to drug court. I had no confidence left in myself, so I was sure that I would fail at this too. I was very afraid of allowing myself to start feeling all of the pain that was going to head my way. I had a lot of mental health issues to work on, and in the beginning it was very intimidating. As time passed and I took it day by day, my anxiety calmed down and I started believing in myself. It seems like so many people with addiction issues always start with mental health problems first. I'm so happy to have finally completed this. I wouldn't have been able to get through this without help. Kelly has been so patient and understanding through all of my medical problems. The fact that I'm still waiting to get surgery done on my leg. But it's been so great to have a probation officer that truly cares and has stood by me even when it seemed like she shouldn't. Also, Shelley has been a huge factor in me graduating. She's helped me through so much. I appreciate everyone's effort in this. It's been one of the best experiences of my life. Also, Joe, thank you. I've learned so much about myself. I could list so many things that I've been able to accomplish. Being sober for over a year, buying a car, and getting my CPS case closed were just to list a few, but I know the possibilities are endless. Thank you. Emma, what do I do?
Just wait for me, wait for me. All right, Judge Gordon, please. Here's the certificate of graduation and photos. I think if I could sum up my impression of Katie over the last several months into one word, it would be resilient. And we've talked about this over the months where there's a reference to some medical issues and she's awaiting a surgery. And let's face it, if she wasn't healthy, there would be 100 excuses a day for her to use. But she is so strong and resilient. If we had an Energizer Bunny Award, she would probably get that because she keeps going and going and just furthers her recovery. So again, Katie, congratulations. So those of you wondering, I estimated we would be done by noon, right? So we've got time. I will try not to fill up the next 20 minutes speaking, but I do have a few more things to say. Thank you all for being here and thank you for your patience. Couple of announcements. For those of you that like to smoke, I have been asked by management to tell you to do it far away from the building. Like past the dirt mounds, okay? And that's from security. And then perhaps more importantly, you're here with family and friends, graduates, people that are in this program. If you would like to come up, take pictures, by all means, the room is yours. Also, we have refreshments upstairs. There's elevators if you go out the doors to your left. There's a staircase also in the lobby, but please join us for cake. We have some bottled water, I believe, also. So please join us afterwards. So, all right, why was that funny? My God. A few comments. First of all, the pictures, right? The before and the after pictures. Right? If there were a suggestion box, it would be filled with complaints about the before and after photos. One of the graduates came up and said, "You done me dirty." Okay. We as a team have debated using those, and I want to say, first of all, it's not like we came up with some new brand of cruelty here to do this. It actually is an idea that we got from other jurisdictions that do the exact same thing. And the purpose is not to embarrass our graduates, even though there's the occasional snicker. Mugshots aren't taken on the best day ever. Some people were sobbing, some crying, etc. But the purpose is to just, again, show the culmination of the journey up to this point. Because at least when I look at the before pictures, and I get to see them every week, by the way, it's printed out on my notes when we have our staffings. When I look at those before pictures, I usually see despair. I see people that are lost, feeling hopeless. I see pain. I see despair. I see lifeless eyes. And then when you look at the after pictures, you see life. You see this life force. It's back. You see this pride, this happiness, this joy. And that's what hopefully you take away from it, okay? It may be kind of a natural inclination, and I tell this to our clients, sometimes when you see people walk in phase 4 and phase 5, they're doing great, rounds of applause, they come, they go, see you next month. It's kind of really easy to distance yourself from that and say, yeah, well, they didn't have it so rough. They don't know what it's like for me. I'm struggling here, and I should be struggling because my life is so hard. That's why these graduation ceremonies are so important. If you were listening to at least some of the speeches, you heard a lot of trauma. You heard a lot of pain, a lot of suffering that frankly no one should have to endure. But hopefully you also got the message of hope that if you put the work in, if you have that moment of surrender where you say, you know, like self, I obviously don't have all the answers. I can't do it on my own. I need help. If you're willing to accept the help and trust the process, you too can have the success, and you can be up here. If not next November, December, the next one. But you can do it if you're willing to surrender to the process and put your faith in the people that are trying to help you. That's really it, and that's why coming to these ceremonies are really important and impactful. I've been presiding over ceremonies for, 10 years now. I learn something new each time. And again, that's why this is such meaningful work. And I really appreciate the bravery and the honesty that was on display from our graduates. I promise I'm almost done. First of all, we've been celebrating the hard work of our graduates. And this program doesn't really run itself, okay? And certainly I don't take any credit for how well it works. I'm kind of the mouthpiece, and I ride on the coattails of some very dedicated people. I'm not going to list all the agencies we work with. It is in the materials and it's on a slide somewhere. I'm afraid I might, in the bright lights forget someone, and I don't want to do that. But I would like to acknowledge our probation supervision, our treatment coordinator, Susan, our probation officers that work every day in recovery courts, our community supports, and the agencies that have joined us in this team and make it such a success and make it so powerful. I would like to recognize the hard work, passion, and dedication of our teams, and please join me in thanking them. So, this is a commencement ceremony, and it's the end of a chapter for our graduates, right? You're no longer in recovery court. It's not the end of the road, of course. Recovery is not like a 15-month vacation from real life. It's a lifestyle, and it's a choice that's going to last you for the rest of your life. I think the worst thing you could do is decide to coast now and kick your feet up and say, okay, well, I'm glad that's over. This is a lifelong decision and a commitment. And I want to, and most of the participants have probably heard this, so I'm saying this for maybe those of you that aren't participants. But just, I want to say 4 to 6 weeks ago in Bullhead City, I was visited by a couple of our graduates, and graduates stop by from time to time for our hearings, and it's great to see. We have some regular attendees in Havasu and in Kingman, and you're always welcome, by the way, graduates. We would love to see you from time to time. Come in and let us know how you're doing. But this one particular day, I had 2 graduates come in, and it was really great to see them. One graduate graduated like 6 years ago. and she's doing phenomenally well. She's maintained her sobriety. She has a great job where she earns a great paycheck and has benefits. She's in a healthy relationship. She obtained custody of her daughter, which she had lost because of her addiction. She is a homeowner, and she had said she never thought she could say that, but she is a homeowner. And she never really looked back. She's just been so strong in her recovery. And the other graduate had graduated 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. And I will confess I got her name wrong, but because it'd been a while since I've seen her, but she corrected me, and then she said, I have 43 days sober. And I'm not big on math, but she graduated 3+ years ago, 43 days sober. She's been struggling, clearly. We talked about that a little bit, and about how hopefully she was getting re-engaged in services. And I tried to tell her, like I tell all graduates, it would be foolish to think that you're going to lead a mistake-free life from here on out. People make mistakes, right? If you start to find yourself on an unhealthy path, here's the key, that you have supports and you know where the services are. Some people continue in the services even after graduation, and that's great. Some people don't. That's okay too if you don't need them. But if you find yourself struggling, you know where the services are. You know where the supports are. You have the tools in your toolbox. And don't lose those. Use those when you need to. And I complimented our 3-year graduate for what guts it took to show up to court and just say that. I mean, she could have very easily just driven by the courthouse and said, forget it, I'll try next week. She came in and she confessed that she was struggling. And I pointed out to her that I thought that was a really great sign. And that was very consistent with the young woman that I got to know through her months in recovery court, that she has a lot of character and she's a really hard worker. And I kind of was hoping she might be here today. I don't see her, but I hope she's well. But my point is, it really kind of boils down to that simple phrase, people, places, and things, right? And so our graduates have done a great job addressing that for the last several months. You need to keep doing it, and you can't coast. Again, you need to keep staying mindful of people, places, and things. I have said often, we do not have a 100% success rate in this program. I don't know of a single program in existence that does. But the last time we ran statistics, and I'll happily parrot this again, 80% of our graduates remain crime-free. And that's fantastic. Again, I didn't say mistake-free, right? So if you find yourself down an unhealthy road, swallow your pride and remember, you don't have to walk this road alone. Get the help, because I'll tell you what, the probation officers I work with, all of them, they would happily pick up the phone if you called. Even if you're not on probation and it's 5 years down the road, they would happily talk to you. The service providers that we work with would happily talk to you. So again, and I don't mean to like end on a downer or to suggest that you're going to stumble. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But I will say this, again, first of all, thank you for your patience and thank you for listening. But to our graduates, so proud of you. And we know that you can do anything that you put your mind to. And we are just really excited to hear about what you're going to accomplish as you go forward in life. For those clients that are still here in our program, we'll see you next week, and keep up the good work and try not to get too wrapped up in things. Like some people may leave here today frustrated that they didn't get a phase promotion or surprised someone else did, but they didn't. Don't even think about that. It'll happen. It'll happen. And you'll graduate when you're ready to graduate. Don't worry about it. Just focus on yourself and your health. So again, thank you all for all your efforts. And please go have some cake. Thank you.